Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Drazah versus Scrappy beef went straight up stratospheric last night and things got very personal very quickly indeed after their big series in the CDL yesterday. Scrappy backs down eventually, deletes loads of the tweets, but the damage to their relationship is most certainly done, and Drazah is saying outright next time they play, as they probably will come the major in a couple of weeks time, it is going to go pretty nuclear. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Before we get into all this absolute chaos, we have to discuss a very interesting series here between Thieves and the Minnesota Rocker. Minnesota, again, man, these guys, like, they've got to go, surely. I mean, I can't believe what I'm watching right now, the amount of Game 5 defeats they've had. Gotta say, for Thieves, I was a bit concerned about the reverse sweep, especially after what Nate tweeted. We shall discuss here in a second. But Thieves, they're actually starting to win hardpoints. They've clearly got the talent to do so. Gotta say as well, the vibes, the chemistry does seem to be significantly improved on Thieves. Now, just watching the player cams, like, I'm an armchair psychologist like the rest of us, but I think you can kind of tell that from a team perspective, I think they're having a better time now than they were with the previous situation of their team, and I think Afro's getting more comfortable as well with Nastie on his team as well, so, you know, bit of time, and yes, maybe you say, oh, it's only Minnesota, but to be fair, it was only a few weeks ago, they were playing like a great team in Minnesota Rocker were, going Game 5 with lots of great teams. They obviously got top 4 at the major, so this is a good victory for Thieves, there's no doubt about it, but, you know, maybe you can't celebrate beating Rocker in a Game 5 right now, because it seems like anybody could do that. So Nate, it was pretty funny, right? He tweeted this out when they're up 2-0. LA Thieves up 2-0. I'm giving you a Nate guarantee we're going to win the series. So they go up 2-0, they win the search and destroy, and they're actually pretty good at invasion control, but they lost it to Minnesota, and then they lost the Game 4, and it's like, oh, here we go. And obviously, you know, here's this man Octane, not, well, Nature, and of course, the picture of Octane, not so happy with this development. There was also this spot as well, which, like, this seems like a pretty blatant stair glitch spot to me. We know that Ghosty was using the stair glitches a fair bit, shall we say, on Hotel last season, when it wasn't really G8, it was kind of frowned upon, but people still did it. This year, I thought it was G8, and I imagined this spot, given it literally is a staircase, might cause some problems, but like, I don't know, maybe he's crouching here anyway, I'm not exactly sure. Regardless, he's glitching behind a stair, and they lost the map anyway, but still, I still think there's some discrepancy in what stair glitches are allowed, what stair glitches are not. I wish there'd be more clarification on this from the pros deciding the GAs, to be honest. So yeah, Vivid goes big, Minnesota win the control, they win the Game 4, they take it all the way to a Game 5, and, you know, I predicted this going into the series, right? This series will end up in 5, and do you have faith, any faith in Minnesota Rocket Game 5? I think the other point about this as well, I don't know that, I think it was Octane mentioning this point on the flank yesterday about this FaZe versus Ultra series. Ultra clearly didn't take that series yesterday massively seriously, and they obviously came in with the intention that, alright, we'll just play maps that FaZe are comfortable on. But Octane's point was that they've now given FaZe loads of confidence that in that matchup, they are, you know, they're gettable, right? Because, of course, FaZe got slammed by Toronto twice at the major. So, you know, now Toronto have arguably, by not taking it so seriously, given them the confidence that when they play them again, it's going to be a different story. And I think that every team that plays Rocker in a Game 5 has 100% confidence they're going to beat them in it. And I never think that's an ideal situation for Rocker to go in for. Now, to be fair to accuracy, this guy was doing his best here. A ridiculous 1 versus 3. You know, Thieves were up 4-2 here. He gets one, gets the second. He's a little bit weak here, but then he regens to 150, and then he actually reads Nastie and still gets the kill on him. And Nastie was mind-blown at this as well. Getting 1v3 there by the Iceman. Like, you know, he thought, oh my god, the Iceman's back, right? Down 4-2 in the map 5. Win that crazy 1v3 to take it to 4-3. But it doesn't matter, and Nastie's mind-blown at this as well, but it doesn't matter, as I say, because in the end, Kremp goes massive in this final round here. It's kind of cool to see as well, because Kremp 1v2 final round. We've seen not so much from Kremp so far, I've got to say, like, since this team came together and Kremp came into the roster, I think Nastie had his moments for sure. Ghosty's probably been their best player. Afro's been getting, I would say, better and better series on series, back to kind of where, you know, like, the level of Afro that I expect to see, let's be honest, but Kremp was maybe didn't do so much for the first few series they played. But he goes big with the 1v2, and, you know, accuracy's out of there, Vivid's out of there. It's just unbelievable watching this Minnesota team play Game 5, because they, you know, they went up 1-0, I'm pretty sure. Like, they seem to be doing pretty well at the start of the Game 5, and then it very quickly collapsed here. And, of course, it comes down to a Kremp Wake 1v1, and Wake loses the 1v1, which is pretty good at summarizing the series, to be fair. We'll get onto this Ultra series here in a second, but I did just want to share the scoreboard here from this one because, again, accuracy went big on, the invasion, the Skid Row to get them to the Game 5. Linz as well had a good bounce back series because the series they played the other day, Linz got slammed in, but we know that he's been a great player for these guys, so here he is with a 1.2. But again, big wake. I mean, the damage isn't really there. He has actually slightly less than Afro here on the server, and Thieves were very split on the damage. But Nastie, it's pretty funny, really. Nastie had way more damage than anybody in the lobby, but he only had a 0.8. And I think Nastie was tweeting out that, like, he was absolutely shooting everyone, but they just weren't died for some reason. And his teammates were cleaning up the kills. But yeah, wake, I mean, lowest damage in the lobby, 65 kills, 0.84. It's like, well, what does this guy bring to the team? I mean, he's meant to bring the saying. It's not happening. Accuracy's doing that part of it. And maybe Wake isn't just washed, but he just doesn't fit with this team. I don't know. But every single series they lose, Wake just goes missing 1 or 2 maps. And it's just not acceptable from the player that's meant to be doing the primary slaying when this team was put together. So, Rocker are now 0-5. They have 2 more matches to play. Maybe they are just going to stick it out until the major and see what happens there. But I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. And there is obviously calls, and maybe understandably so, for them to consider options for Wake now. I said this, like, I don't know, a month and a half ago, that when accuracy started to play well, and Wake wasn't looking so good, they're like, look, they might need to think about this when the time comes, and, well, maybe the time has come. But of course, the most dramatic series of yesterday was the Toronto Ultra versus Atlanta FaZe rematch in the Major 1 Grand Finals, as Envoy has been outplayed, OpTic and Thieves to finish the stage. A pretty interesting couple of games upcoming there for Toronto to see how they fare against OpTic, for example, given the fact that they now seem, well, vulnerable. I think, Toronto have probably regressed somewhat, especially given the map set changes and stuff, but I also think that if they really locked in yesterday, I think it would have been a different story, maybe a Game 5 on the cards or something like that. So, Drazah and Scrap got into it yesterday, as we saw in last night's video, and Scrappy eventually replied to this from Drazah, which he deleted. I'm interested that he deleted this one, to be fair, because the other things that he deleted, fine. But deleting this, because he replied to Drazah and said, oh yeah, enjoy those 10 points, buddy, type thing, because basically Scrappy's like, look, online doesn't matter, I'll see you at the major, which is what Drazah says, to be fair, as well. Now, I know that Scrappy, I thought what was pretty funny about this, really, was that Scrap was kind of pretending, oh, it's only online, I don't care type thing. Like, I'm not salty about it or anything like that. But I think it was quite clear in the follow-up tweets here that, Scrap was pretty, I don't know, like, he got a bit tight, didn't he? Let's be honest here, because to go on the rampage that he did thereafter on Twitter makes me think that he actually wasn't particularly happy getting 3-0'd by FaZe and getting clowned on by Drazah after the fact. And obviously Drazah in the post-game interview saying that those guys are terrible and all this stuff that we talked about yesterday. I thought maybe that would be the end of it, and I expected some sort of beef, but I didn't expect the beef to go to quite this extreme. And obviously from Scrappy's side, this whole thing, he doesn't want it to get blown out of proportion. He's talked to, Scump and Zuma and others to say, look, can we not talk about this possibly? And, like, it's a difficult situation. It got really personal, and I don't think it should have got anywhere near this personal. But at the same time, for me to do a good job here discussing the storyline of why Scrappy versus Drazah is such a big deal going forward for the rest of the season, we have to discuss the tweets. Like, I'm not doing my job properly if I just breeze over these tweets and pretend they didn't happen. And this is the internet. Once you put something online, it is there. And it doesn't matter what you try and do to scrub it from the face of the earth. These tweets are all over Reddit. They're all over Twitter. I probably had 10 people sending me all the screenshots yesterday as well. So it is what it is, especially when these tweets survive for minutes. And I also think, like, Scrappy had his chances yesterday to back down on this. The first couple of tweets that happens, if he'd have deleted them then and gone about his business for the evening, it might have not gone to this extreme. But, I think Scrap had his chances, and I think I'd be doing the community a disservice to the importance of this Drazah Scrap rivalry going forwards if we don't discuss how we got to this point. So it started here with this tweet. Guadalupe says, guess that fidget spinner didn't really do anything right because he was, doing that before the game 3, which they ended up losing. And then, so, we get this, right? So this is Keeks, of course, Drazah's girlfriends. They have a child together now, and, I do really feel bad for her and the kid and everything involved in it. I really wish it didn't, this type of stuff didn't get involved to this level, but it is what it is, right? At the end of the day, this is how this community sometimes operates. So Keek says the following, and then Scrap says this, we know about you, relax. I don't really know what he means by that, and if he just left it there, it probably would have been fine. But then we get this, and I'm not going to dive into the weeds on exactly what these tweets mean and really, like, go through and do the analysis on it. You guys can work this out for yourself. But the more I look at this tweet, the more I'm like, oh my god, like, did this really need to be said? So this is Darian, by the way, who's Scrappy's girlfriend. So it effectively started there, really. And then Scrappy said this, which, as I say, I'm not going to discuss in too much depth. And therefore, as you might have expected, Drazah decided it was time to come back with the haymaker, right? So he says the following: if you're going to lie on the TL, then don't delete it. And then Scrap replied again. So it's like, this is when Scrap should have just known. If he'd have left it there, it was bad enough. But he decided to actually keep going on further on this one. So anyway, Drazah, and we'll see Scrap's replies in a second here, by the way. I do have the screenshots, don't worry about it. So yeah, Drazah and Scrap, they get into it here. Keep lying on the timeline, weirdo, acting like you know anything. And these were the full tweets here. So Scrap's like, oh, you know, I'm going to let you rock, like whatever, kind of my bad. Just looking out for you, bro. And obviously Drazah then says this. And then Scrappy follows up with his final remark, really. Finally, someone told you what everyone won't, bro. They've got to look through the lies to find the truth. So, and then all of the stuff gets deleted, and Scrappy backs down and says the following. So, like, people thought, oh my god, like the ultra sensitivity training cap is back in business. Of course, we know that a few years ago when it was Cammy, obviously, right, who said that, you know, the C word, shall we say, on the social media side, and Ultra's organization were like, oh no, this is unacceptable and all this stuff. And, you know, some for the UK, I thought that was pretty wild. But I think times have changed as well for Ultra as an organization, maybe not from a cultural perspective, but, you know, from Ultra as an organization, they actually went through a lot of stick back in the day. You guys might remember when, I think Looney, or was it Brack, or I think it was Brack maybe, trying to travel home to see his grandfather, and they basically said no, well, there was some issue with it anyway. And I think over time, Ultra have actually turned their image around as an organization, definitely for the better. So the theory was, you know, have Ultra hit up Scrap and said, look, it's time to go. This stuff got way too personal, way too quickly, and these tweets have got to go. Or did Scrap himself just realize, because, like, I understand it from Scrap's point of view. You've lost a series, you're frustrated, you know, you're seeing red a little bit and the Twitter fingers are going wild. And I get it, right? You know, people have their bad moments. So whether the organization told Scrap, like, hey, delete this stuff, get it off the internet right about now, or whether Scrap thought, yeah, you know what, this probably isn't the best look for myself, or, you know, just for all the parties involved. And if it was just Scrap v Drazah, right, I think that's when, you know, this whole situation just gets a little bit kind of difficult to handle when you get other parties brought in. Like, if it's just two blokes going at it over playing COD, then, you know, that's kind of what we're all here for. Whereas when it goes one step further than that, you know, it becomes a bit more of an uncomfortable situation, to be fair, rather than just, you know, tweets going back and forth when things get super personal like this. So I totally understand it. But as I say, we can't do a good job here explaining why Scrappy versus Drazah is a big deal if we don't go through exactly what happened last night. So Scrap says nobody told him anything, and, you know, he's just kind of come to this realization himself, maybe, that, yeah, probably shouldn't have said what he said, but, you know, the reality is what it is, and obviously people have seen all the stuff now over the last day or so. So obviously this is the tweet from Drazah, and even Dashy responded, and Dashy was instigated big time last night, and we'll talk about it later on today as well with the whole Kismet stuff. But yeah, as Dashy says here, you know, this beef is insane. One of you guys wants to challenge me or something. So, you know, obviously Dashy's in the beef, everyone's in the beef at this point, and it ends up really with this tweet from Drazah, where he comes out with this, of course, you know, the F it then, it's Drazah's favourite thing, can't wait for the rest of the season. So, you know, Toronto versus FaZe was already pretty spicy. After the major itself, two great teams that have big personalities, they're going to beef. It is how it is, and I was expecting some sort of Drazah versus Scrappy fireworks after the series last night, regardless of what happens. But you've got to expect Toronto and FaZe to match up at basically every single major event this season. Like, it should be expected that Toronto and FaZe will find themselves in the winners finals against each other, the losers finals, losers semis, winners round 2, grand finals. Like, it probably is going to happen based on the state of the league. And we've already got plenty of Toronto versus FaZe games. A couple of them have gone to Toronto, now this one online has gone to FaZe. But every single match they play from now to the rest of time, certainly for this season, and these things always do blow over. Like, on the first day, it feels like, oh my god, what a big deal. And then in a few days' time, you know, people start to forget about these things. But I don't imagine Drazah is going to be forgetting this stuff anytime soon. And yeah, I can't wait myself for the next time that these two guys match up in a LAN environment. And neither, it seems, could Drazah. So that is pretty much all the storylines we've got for you guys today. But as I say, more coming later today because more beef was happening last night. Very much interested your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Take care of yourselves. Subscribe if you're new, something like that. And I'll see you next time.